I did want to ask you this too. Like, how often do they require porn stars to get tested?
Well, now we're tested every fucking 2 weeks. It's really like strict. So my poor veins, they're like dying because it's every 2 weeks now. Yeah, it used to be once a month, and now it's every 2 weeks.
Back at it again. It's the Photo Culture Podcast. I go by the name Exotic Rose. I have my co-hosts Money Mitch and Lisa Marie. And today we have a special guest, Natassia Dreams.
Hi, everybody.
How you doing?
So Natassia, I wanted to ask you to this because when I first reached out to you, you had a different Instagram page, but now you got deleted again for the third time. What happened?
Yeah, like Instagram is really on my ass. I don't know. Like I had one page that I had for years and then it got deleted. Then I had another one and I built it up really quick and that got deleted. And then I made another one and then like the same day it got deleted. It's crazy. Instagram does not give me any breaks.
It's probably some troll
Yeah.
deleting or reporting your page or something like that.
A crazy fan or something. I feel like that's what it is. Yeah, because every time I post something, it's like solicitation, nudity, and I'm like, I'm not even nude in this picture, and I'm not soliciting anything. So what is going on?
Or it could be a crazy ex-boyfriend or
That
ex-girlfriend.
that too. That too. That's a possibility. That's definitely a possibility. I date some crazy ones in my days.
I think we all been through that phase in our life.
Yeah, but
Well,
why
I
would
didn't go
someone
through that
do
phase
that?
yet.
Yeah,
Wait,
like I mean, I have.
Lisa.
No,
All
I haven't
right,
had
so
that
If we
phase.
all had them,
yeah, we had our moments.
yeah. It could be one of
Um,
us, but yeah, I'm sorry. Go
yeah.
ahead.
So I wanted to start from where you from because you're mixed with a lot of things. One thing I heard that you say you was mixed was Dominican, Dominican. So
Y-
where you from and where you was raised at?
So I have a mixture: Dominican, Native American, Cherokee Indian, and African American. And I'm from California, like San Diego.
Okay,
But
and
you know what?
were you born in Dominican Republic
I
or
was born in
just
Dominican Republic and raised in San Diego. Yeah.
okay? All right. So how was it growing up? Did you have your parents, both of your parents, father and dad, or you were like, give us a little background information?
Well, no, like I grew up, well, when I was like younger, I moved to USA and my parents split up. So I was raised by my mother and she like forbidden like any Spanish talking, any like heritage of that in my household. So I had to like sneak and like talk Spanish with my friends and like on the low. And yeah, then like I ended up moving out to New York when I was young.
Oh wow.
Wow.
Okay.
I outgrew
Um.
San
Yeah,
Diego. I was too big for San Diego.
man. You know what I noticed about that? Like a lot. Like, I'm sorry, I didn't want to butt in, but I was like, I noticed in the Dominican culture, like if something happens with like the family and like one side is Puerto Rican, one side is Dominican, like if something happens on the Dominican side, they don't want to claim the Dominican side. I noticed that because a lot of artists are like that. Like Trina, she's half Dominican, but she doesn't like to say it to people because she said something happened from that side and she doesn't like to claim it. So I don't know what happened, but I'm just bringing that up because I noticed that a little bit. Is that true, or do you
Yeah,
feel?
that happens a lot. It happens a lot.
Yeah.
Like you're like you have to shun the other side or whoever it is that, especially like in Latin culture, they hold like deep, deep, deep grudges, like to the grave.
Oh, they sure do.
Oh
Yeah,
wow,
to the grave.
Mhm. Wow.
Yeah, I didn't really know that, but I know one thing is true though. Well, I don't know if how true this is now, but when I used to talk to Spanish girls back in like middle school, the old heads used to not want their daughters dating a black man.
That's another truth. But even though we are black, we're Afro Latinos, Latinas, Latinx, whatever you want to call it. We're still black, which I don't really understand. But yeah, a lot of it is like that.
Yeah, they say the Spanish people are black people that know how to swim and speak Spanish. And I was
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah, I like that one. I like that one. All right. So let's get into a little more details into like your life and everything like that. So I heard you say one time that uh when you was growing up, your mom took you to the doctor to get tested for HIV, and you said that was her way of her knowing that you were gay or trans. Is that correct or?
Yeah, and like I guess she figured out, I grew up in that era when it was like HIV was a big scan, and I never really like
Right.
came out to her and told her like my sexuality, and at that point I wasn't even sexually active, but I guess like that was her way of letting me know that she knew that I was different instead of just coming out and sitting me down and having the conversation. Yeah, she did that to me. I think I was about 14 years old, and she like made that doctor's appointment, and yeah, she took me like, okay, so what are you here for today? And she's like, yeah, my son is gay and he needs an HIV test. And I was like, whoa.
So you
I'm
as a
like, oh,
kid, you as a kid hearing this, like how did it affect you? Like did you like were you just like did that scar you or did you like
of
did you want her
course,
to
yeah.
did you want her
No,
to
I'm like,
approach you a different way? Like
of course, I would have loved to just like have her like sit down and have that conversation. And honestly, that traumatized me to like the fear of HIV and like the stigma. It created like a really bad stigma about it because the way that she treated it made me feel like it was like bad, you know?
yeah, the sad thing about it is a lot of people when it comes to gay, trans, anything like that, they tend to go towards HIV. Um I think that's like one of the number one fear of even people going towards that path. The first thing that comes to their head is HIV. Like if you talk to doctors, I think we had an interview with a doctor one time, and he was telling us that anal sex is how you got or how HIV started.
Yeah, there's like a lot of misconceptions, but like, and, and it's funny because, I think it is like a gay thing, but like a lot of straight women have it now too. Like the majority of the cases are like heterosexual women that get it from like their significant other.
It's true.
Mhm.
Yeah. All
So
right.
it did kind of like traumatize me and made me like really paranoid about it, and like I'm still stuck with that trauma to this day, to be honest.
Oh wow. So to this day, do you have a relationship with your mother? Like, is it better, or do you guys have that? Like, is the relation like explain the relationship between you and your mother now?
We have a really weird relationship. She accepts me and everything for who I am, but like she's not really good at communicating. So like she'll do things like like and expect me to like read her mind and stuff. So it's not really we have a good relationship when we're good, but then we don't talk and we'll fall out and like we're not we haven't we're at the moment we're not talking. So I don't know when we'll talk again, to be honest. But we're really close when we're close.
Okay. All right. So this is all happening at 14 years old. Uh, you went to college after high school, or like tell us what happened after you graduated from high school.
So I ended up running away from home, and then I ended up like finishing school. Like I ended up moving in with my grandmother, and I ended up home studies. And I finished like I dropped out of school because I was like bullied a lot, and I wasn't really interested in what the school was teaching me at the time, and I was trying to find out who I was. So I dropped out of school like early, and then like probably like middle of 10th grade, and so then 10th or 11th grade, I think. And then I had to end up finishing high school, like home studies. I finished it in like 2 or 3 months. And then I moved to Seattle because I was going to go to beauty school. And then I got kicked out of beauty school. And then I got kicked out of beauty school. And then I started working like at like writing and stuff like cosmetic things. And then I ended up getting a job at this porn shop, at a graveyard shift at a porn shop that had a peep show. And and then I ended up like working there for like a while, saving money, and then I moved to New York. And I like transitioned, and I finally found my place here in New York.
Okay, and I heard you say one time when you was in New York. I forgot which part of New York, but there was a time and place, or there was a time where you didn't even go outside because every time you walked outside, people would assault you, not assault you, but harass you. I guess you could say.
Oh yeah, that's like probably when I was living in the Bronx. Like my first apartment was in the Bronx, and I was like younger, and this was many years ago, so it wasn't like so much knowledge about trans, and yeah, I would really get harassed on my street, and when I would go to the store and stuff. So I kind of wouldn't leave the house because I would wait until like really late at night, so not everybody was outside because they would like ridicule me and make like loud sounds. Like it was a Jamaican French neighborhood. So it was like, so it would be like, they would make those sounds like, blah, 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 and everything when I would walk
Oh
outside.
my
Yeah, it
god!
was really bad. It was
Yo, I
really
can only
bad.
imagine because I have Jamaican friends, and I'm around a lot of Jamaicans, and to them that's like a taboo for anybody that's gay or trans.
Yeah, they would be like, Bossy boy, and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, oh my God, like, can you just like leave me alone? I'm just trying to get some like Dominican food or like go to the Rite Aid or something. And like every time they would like harass me. But then also, the same guys that would harass me or like trying to do stuff to me were the
I know
same
where you're
guys
going.
that late at night, same guys late at night trying to holler at the drugstore.
I was gonna say that. I was gonna say that
Always
because
is.
like it's a lot of people that always say the opposite of something and they're so against it. And I always watch those people that say, "Oh, they're like super against something," and they're the same ones because they caught is a I think he was a mayor or something in Alabama, and he was against gay marriage and gay this and that, and then come to find out somebody walked in on him messing with his personal assistant, which was a guy. Caught him red-handed,
Yeah, that's
and he's
always the
married too.
case. Oh,
Yeah,
that's always
married
the
with
case.
children. Yeah, it's crazy. I heard stories about that. But yeah,
Preach, preach, Pastor Clark.
no, I'm just saying. You notice that about everything, not even just gay. Like like if it's something with
Yeah, in
like gay
general, I know
marriage
you're
or something,
saying,
it's like
yeah,
every subject. So I noticed it. I noticed that a lot.
yeah.
Yeah, those will be the first ones, like, to try to like stop me when I'm like on the going home upstairs and like try to invite themselves upstairs. And I'm like, do you honestly think like you make my life miserable, you tease me, you torment me, and then you think I'm gonna sleep with you just because like you give me the time of day? Like, what is really going on here?
I
Wow,
feel like that's usually how it goes, though.
Yeah, the story of my life.
wow.
All right. So you go to New York at 19. Why New York City at all places?
Because it's awesome.
So yeah,
No.
no, I had like a good friend of mine from San Diego had moved here, and he was like working in this drag queen restaurant, and he was like writing us letters because that this was back before, I'm not gonna say how old I am, but it was like you write letters to each other to communicate, and we would just like read all these letters about all the clubs and how it was so much fun and like how much guys he was hooking up with and stuff. And I was like 18 years old at the time, and I just wanted to get away from where I was at and like expand. And I knew like New York was a big city. So I was like, you know what? So he would write us letters and like enticing us. And then he's like, hey, I can get you guys a job at the restaurant that I work at. And then you can live in this hotel. It's like $150 a week. It's like one of those really sleazy hotels. And he's like, just come over and come over, come over. So me and my best friend at the time, well, still my best friend, were like, yeah, let's go. So we ended up like robbing, like stealing money from the porn shop because like they were really treating us really bad, like underpaying us, and like they didn't treat us right. So then like we got this great idea, like we were like ringing up stuff at the porn shop, and like we would just keep the money, and then like we saved enough money to like move to New York. And it was funny because in the porn shop, like after the strippers would leave, it was like a peep show as well. And after the strippers would leave, the guys would like straight guys, of course, will come. And like this was before my transition. I was just like very feminine, but you couldn't really tell if I was a girl or a boy. I looked, and everybody used
Mhm.
to think I was a girl. And like the guys would come in after the girls would left and be like to me and my girlfriend, who were obviously boys, like feminine boys. They'll be like, "Hey, can you guys do a show for us?" And we would be like, no, because you know it was like all regulated, like timers and stuff, and they would have known. So we ended up just like saving money, like doing that, working in the peep shop, working at the porn shop, and like taking a little extra cash, and then we moved to New York just to come to New York. Like who wouldn't want to come to New York? You see it in the movies and stuff. And we had a job and we had a place to stay, so we just came like on a whim.
I feel like that New York's like the go-to for people to like just find themselves and like explore and be artistic.
Yeah, because you can be who you want to be here. Like, there's so many people here. Like, you know, I would see like people dressed up crazy and like, you know, walking down the street and nobody would bother them. And I'm like, wow, this is the place to be. You know, nobody would bother me. Like, nobody would bully me. You can be who you want to be. So I moved here, and then like 2 weeks later, like I started working at the job, the restaurant, and then I met my first transgender, and I was like, wow, like this is me, like who I am. And then like a week later, I was on hormones and like started to transition, and like a week after that, I was living my life as a woman completely.
Don't you feel like those hormones give you like the ultimate headaches and like all of that as well?
Oh my God, they make you so emotional. They make you eat a lot. They make you cranky. Like, especially in the beginning, like I was overdosing because I really wanted to be like a woman and be as feminine as possible. So I was
Oh yeah.
taking so much. And I know it probably wasn't good because it's unregulated. I was buying it from the street at the time. But I didn't care. I was like taking 2 shots a week and pills and testosterone blockers and everything.
Yeah, I was
See,
just
my
about to ask
cousin did the
you.
pills, but it's just crazy because you know it causes a lot of changes too around your body.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
about.
it's
I
so
wanted to.
bad.
I was just about to ask y'all like, where do you guys get like where do you get these hormones? I know you just said you got
The
it from the street,
doctor.
but
So, so I used to actually there was like there was this guy, he was like a pharmacist, and
They have
he would just like,
estradiol, right?
yeah, it was Premarin pills, and we would take
Oh,
spironolactone for the testosterone blockers, and he would just like, no, I don't know, I think somebody hooked me up with him, and like we would just like order from him all the time. And I would just have him, and then there was like another woman that she would go to the clubs, like literally, and give you like 20. That was $20, and you get a hormone shot in the bathroom stall of the club,
what?
like while you're doing your little, getting your
Whoa.
little hustle
it's
on.
always the black
Yeah,
market undercover stuff no one
yeah,
knows about.
yeah. And then you would go to her house, which it was sad too, because now to think of it, she was HIV positive, and
Oh,
she was like, you know, she was like giving us injections, and I wasn't thinking to check if it was a fresh needle or anything. You know what I mean? I was just so
Right,
naive back then. I just wanted to be a woman so bad that I just was like, okay, let's do this. So
right, whatever
yeah,
it takes.
yeah, I'm like, oh, you got hormones? Like, what kind you got? Like, okay, how much is it? Here you go. Let me take as many as I can. So that's where it was like a word of mouth thing. You would tell your girlfriend's like, oh, I have this number. You like, give it to me. And you would call him up and he would bring it over. His name was Ralph. He was so sweet. He used to sell hormones to all of us. Yeah, I wonder what happened to him. He was so sweet.
she's like, I wonder what happened to him.
Well, this is like
Oh,
20 years ago.
Yeah, that's crazy. So what are
Wow.
your thoughts on when people? I heard a conversation. I think it was Joe Rogan where they were talking about that they don't think that doctors and parents should give their kids that are like underage these shots and pills.
I disagree because, like my mother, we had a talk about it, and she said she always knew I was different from day one. And you are,
well, and that's my question too. Like, my daughter actually has a best friend who she's now, changed her name completely. She can't do, the hormones because she's only 8, but they did legally do a name change, and she goes by, as a name, and then versus her normal name, and now uses the girls' bathroom with certain escorts, like that parents allowed her to, so that way she's not going to like the boys. But everyone now identifies, to her as, her rather than
Yeah.
him. And so, it's one of those things where a lot of parents don't understand necessarily about what that is or why, and explaining it to their kids and stuff like that. And some, they think that it's, I mean, I have a lot of family members that are gay, trans, lesbian, everything. So, there's no discriminating in my household. So if I were to jump up and say that, my parents would be like, oh, yay, but everyone's different. So I know a lot of, people in school don't understand, and a lot of parents have questions. And I feel like it is, like you said, one of those things where you do know, like, I know my cousins were different. They were not, you just can tell. I feel like it's one of those things where there are certain circumstances where I feel like there is that, how would I explain it? I think you get maybe what I'm saying, like how you kind of, you just know. It's one of those things where you just kind of know, no matter what age you are, whether you're 3, 4, or 5, if you pick up Barbies and Frozen as opposed to like cars and playing football. Like, I mean, I think those are like little indicators, you know what I mean? And I
Yeah,
think that
totally.
you don't have to like shift away. So I do give props to the parents for actually like going with the flow of, their child doing what she wants to do and what she feels. And, everyone's just kind of like been on board with it. But I do think a lot of people don't understand that sometimes you just, at a young age, and it may be more beneficial to start it at a younger age if you're aware of it.
That's true.
I don't
Well,
know if I would agree with that totally, because I know guys that wore their mother heels and did stuff like that, and they didn't turn out gay or anything like that.
But
So
I
I
think
don't
that's just
know.
fun. That's just like girls wearing basketball shorts.
Right, right. Or
well,
Yeah,
like
but
wrestling or something.
even with the Barbie doll thing, I know I've seen people play with that at a young age, and they didn't turn out to be gay or any trying to change anything like that. So I don't know if I agree with that part. But yeah, I feel like at a certain age, I guess you do what you want to do as a person. You know what you want to be and do that. But I don't know if 13-year-old or 10-year-old or 11-year-old know exactly what they want or what they are, because I think we
Well,
all
do
were
you have family members that are?
confused at that age. I think that, to be honest with you.
I disagree because I knew that I felt like a woman since as young as I can remember, and I always wanted people to address me as a woman, and so I knew that like 5, 6, like playing house with the
Five,
kids, and
six,
I
that
was,
young?
yeah, yeah, I was like the mother, and I would be in the kitchen like cooking because I identified myself as a woman. I felt like a woman, so this was, yeah, like 5 years old, 6 years old. So I disagree. I have friends of mine that have just had like gender reassignment surgery at like
Mhm.
16. Like,
oh wow.
Yeah,
like
I feel like
15,
it's one of the things
16. Yeah.
exactly. You just know, like we know when you're, 13, 14, you don't know about the world in your life, but you know how to tie your shoes, you know how to like, do certain things. I feel like it's just one of those things you just,
You know how you feel on the inside, you know how you feel. You know how like you want people to portray you. You know that at a young age, you know. You
It,
know how you
Feels
want people to address
yeah,
you.
go ahead, Clark.
what I was gonna
It's
say
just
was
like
like,
us
I mean,
being as dressed as like I'm a woman, you're a guy, we
yeah,
already know what we are. So it's kind of like the same thing. Just they don't really have an option.
because okay, because like the thing like with that is like how I'm looking at it is like they're so young, and like how you felt, Natassia, like you felt like you were a woman or a girl. So of course you feel like that, and of course there's some gay guys that what they call them flamboyant, that are not all the way through, but they have their ways that are feminine more than some other, I'm just giving an example for the guys,
I think
because I
that's
work
more
with
of like
one of the guys that are like,
metrosexual.
well, but no, but I mean, like, I work with a guy who they call us flamboyant. You know what I'm saying? And he's
Yeah.
cool. But what I mean is where I'm getting at is really, you know, how did you know if you wanted to go all the way at that age? Because imagine if, you know, a kid is taking, you know, like a boy is taking the estrogen and all of these different pills and shots. But when they get older, like, yo, I didn't really want to go that far. They just wanted to be gay and not, you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I'm not, you know.
I in my experience as trans, I've only known maybe like a handful, and I have fingers left over of girls that were trans that transitioned back to being what they were before. The majority of us like know what we want, and and we like work hard to be who we are.
Got it. Got
Yeah,
you.
I don't think that, like, I know some people do it for the wrong reasons, and I think that's probably why they go back to being what they were, because they truly inside of them that wasn't what they was. But I cannot imagine being any other way.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. I always wanted to ask that question to, you know, like somebody who's, you know, who's you know, transgender and has made the transitions. Because yeah, that was interesting. All right.
Yeah, like I said, some people do it for the wrong reasons, and like, you know, maybe they'll feel like they're connected, and then later on the line they can be like, okay, well, no, you know. But it's also about, it also gets confused with sexuality too, because, you know, a lot of trans women are still attracted to women, and then they feel like it's weird because they're women and you know, they're attracted to women. So I think it messes with their head mentally, so they end up like going, but there's nothing wrong with two women being together either. So it's just,
Right.
it's a crazy dynamic.
Yeah, it sounds like a handful to handle. Sounds like it's hard to deal with.
Well, but I think
Um,
it's important that people ask questions though, because you're able to understand where they're coming from, as opposed to just like not understanding and thinking you understand, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I like to educate people as much as possible, because people have these misconceptions and like, oh, you know, all of you guys do this to like have sex, or you do this just to like, you know, but there's people like us, like me, who I honestly dreamed when I was younger. Like, you know, people are like, oh, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I was thinking to myself, I wouldn't say it out loud, but I'm like, I want to be a woman. That's all I wanted. Like, that's all I wanted. I didn't think of anything else.
all right. So let's get back into so you was in New York, you was a waitress. Then after that you
Hmm.
was doing a waitress thing. You ended up modeling for Patricia Field, one of her
Yeah.
shows on ice skating or something like that.
Y- Yeah, I actually was talking about it yesterday. It was Patricia Field's fashion show. And, you know, Patricia Fields had all like the club kids of the moment. It was like that era of club kids and the huge clubs and everything.
And she
So
did Sex in the City too.
yeah, she did Sex and the City after that. But this is like before that. Or no, this is probably during. And she was like really big. And like I would go there all the time and buy like my hair balls and like cute cheap clothes, because I was kind of broke. And she just asked me one day, I was like walking in, and she's like, hey, you want to be in my fashion show? And I'm like, sure. Like, I knew everybody from the store, and they were like really cool with me. So she asked me to do a fashion show, and I'm like, she's like, one condition. I'm like, what? And she's like, it's on ice. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, I did figure skating as a child, rollerblading, like all the active stuff. So I knew how to ice skate, luckily. And I did my first fashion show, yeah, and it was on ice, and it was like a big deal, like the papers. I mean, it was in Rockefeller Center on the skate rink there, so it was like
Oh
a really
yeah,
big
everybody sees
deal.
that.
Yeah, it was really big deal. I guess they had rented it out for the whole fashion show. It was crazy, and they like bussed us in from Patricia Fields, which was on 8th Street at the time. It was really fun, actually. It was on the newspapers and everything. It's pretty cool.
Well, it's good. It's something that you get to like have an accomplishment for and look back on.
Yeah, and then I got scouted there like by an agent, and they're like, "Oh, you should be a model. Like, we're gonna send you to Europe and blah blah blah." I'm like, "Okay," and then like next thing you know, I'm in Italy. Like,
Wow.
yeah,
Hello.
yeah. I almost got sex trafficked though, but
Yeah, I
Oh
was about to bring
no.
that up. I was about to bring that
What?
up. How did that happen?
yeah.
Because I know you said somebody in the store, or somebody like that saved you, or something like that.
Yeah, so I was like I was in Italy, and this is back when I didn't speak Italian. I was like my first time there, and I was like going to castings, and I remember I was like going to like some big castings, big fashion houses. And then I was like in between castings, and this guy like on the street was like, "Oh, hey, Roberto Cavalli casting," you know. And he, of course, like, I'm young and I'm stupid. I don't know, like, you can't meet a guy from the street and like go on a casting. I don't know anything about modeling, and I didn't know the language either. So the guy's like, "Hey, come to this. There's this casting here, whatever." And I was luckily at this cafe, and an angel, because the guy in the cafe was like, "No, here," like, I think he gave me like a coffee or something so I can stay there at the cafe, because that guy did not had nothing to do with Roberto Cavalli or casting or anything. You don't get castings from strangers on the street. Number one, like, you
Right,
give them
right,
your
right.
agency, and you have the, and like, you'll go and there'll be like other models there, not just like a random guy. So the guy in the cafe like ended up saving me, because I think he like gave me an extra coffee or like hot chocolate, and I'm like, "Oh, I'm gonna stay." And the guy's like, "No, but you know, the casting, they'll love you, you'll do the show." And I'm like, "No, I'm gonna stay here." And then I come to find out like that was no Roberto Cavalli casting. You know, it was like there was somebody like prying on young models who don't know the language. And I could have been
Right, or
sex
the
trafficked,
area.
literally. Yeah, I could have been literally like in some tough.
How, how did you find out?
I found out later, because like I was like trying to search for, and like when I end up going to like the other castings, I'm like asking the other models, I'm like, "Hey, did you guys go to Roberto Cavalli casting?" They're like, "No." And I'm like, "Oh," because I mean, if it's a big casting, like other models would have went.
Yeah,
Nobody heard of it. Nobody knew anything of it. They're like, "There's no Roberto Cavalli casting today," and I'm like, "Wow, yeah,
that's
That's
crazy.
insane,
Yeah,
but I
that's
believe
crazy.
it.
yeah,
Hmm.
huh?" It was
I wonder.
crazy.
I wonder what happened to them. To whoever went, like, did they escape? Or, that's
I don't
crazy.
know. God only knows. But yeah, these people out here preying on like young models. I've heard a couple like scary stories like that happen in Italy, for example.
Wow.
It happened
Okay.
at this point. It happens everywhere around the world, so I'm
Mhm.
not even like surprised. It's terrible.
Yeah, yeah, they prey on like young girls. And I mean, there was like this guy. I think it was two guys, to be honest. So I mean, I didn't even have stand a chance.
Oh yeah,
Wow.
no, for sure.
Wow.
Well, you never know. Sometimes
Yeah,
that adrenaline kicks in, you know,
but I was
of
like a
Jackie
hundred and
Chan.
like 20 pounds, you know, like super skinny, super tall, like young and naive. Like they kind of probably did whatever to me.
Wow.
Oh no.
That's
Um,
crazy.
Well,
since
good
you
thing they
since you
didn't.
since you was in the porn industry, from your opinion, do a lot of sex traffic go through there?
No, not at all. Like I've heard like very rare cases, but everybody that I know through all the years of the industry are willing, and they want to do what they're doing. Like I've never met anyone like on set and they'll be like not want to be there. Like we're all just like horny individuals that we want to just have sex and get paid for it and have fun.
Okay, because we did an interview with a guy named Benji, and he has a organization where he's trying to shut down Pornhub. So what are your thoughts on that? Because of the sex trafficking he's saying that's going through there. There's videos on Pornhub where there's a lot of videos where that's traumatizing young girls that got out of sex traffic and they're on Pornhub website. And what I was trying to explain to him is like that uh it's gonna be hard to do because that organization is hard. I mean it's big, and what he was trying to say, if they can't shut it down, at least they need to like regulate it better. Like have somebody able to control which videos get posted up and around that website.
We were, I was talking about that with like this groups that I'm in, and the thing about that is like people upload videos to Pornhub a day, probably like a, a huge number of
Right, so it
videos
goes
a day. So
unseen.
to be able to, yeah, to be able to scout all of that, it's not going to be possible. But I don't feel that personally. I don't. I think Pornhub. The problem with Pornhub is that it has a lot of racist porn and like derogatory things against Black people more than sex trafficking. To be honest, in my personal opinion, because there's like um you can Google now like some porn that's like the girl saying like, "Oh, N word, give me that ND," and all that stuff. And like I'm like, I feel like that's the bigger problem than sex trafficking, because I don't really
Right.
feel there's any sex trafficking. Personally, I don't know, because all the girls that I know, like the big names, are not. They will do it willingly, and they've been doing it for years. So I feel like also what happens too is like girls get into the industry and then they regret it or something, and if they don't be
And
as
that's their
successful as they
go-to.
want to do, yeah, and then they want to say that they were sex trafficked or something, or they were forced to do it. But at the end of the day, especially now, it's really hard to get forced into porn. Like there's no way. Like you have to sign too many things. You have to go get tested. You have to like have your your dialogue sent to you the day before, and the outfits and everything. It's so like you can't just like force somebody to do that.
Right. It's too planned.
Wow.
Yeah, it's very planned, especially with
And don't they
testing,
pay for
and
sets and all of that? No.
they pay for sets. They used to pay for your testing. They fly you in. Like it's kind of like I don't think it's that possible to be there if you don't want to. Now they do like interviews before that. You have to say like you're there willingly. You're not on drugs. It's crazy.
Yeah, because it's not like a strip club.
No, especially now people want to cover their ass because of all these allegations of sex trafficking. I think it's like a hate crusade against porn, because probably like some like religious people, because I did read an article about it. It's like this religious group, and they did like this hardcore thing against Pornhub, and like saying that it's trafficking hub. But like I know a lot of representation, people that are representatives of Pornhub personally, and they just said like that's bullshit. I mean, they could just be saying that because they work there, but
Right.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah. Benji's group is a religious group, actually.
you see, there you go.
But okay. So I wanted to step back and get back into your modeling days. I
Hmm.
heard you say that there was an issue where you was talking about when you go backstage, there would be older white men when you go backstage to like change or dress or undress. To be older white men that be sitting there watching the young girls, and some of the girls are underage.
Yeah, that just happened recently. Like you would think like we're making a change in the industry, but I last season, well, not last season because it was canceled because of COVID, but before that, I did a show, and it was like a huge show, and it was on the Housewives of Housewives of New York, and Tinsley Mortimer, the girl, was inside in the show, and so we had like a dressing room, but it was like a open area where we were getting changed, and like to the left was like just a line of photographers, like 40, 50s plus. And yeah, there were like underage girls in the show, like 17, 15. Modeling, you start young. So yeah, it happens a lot, and like people are fighting for that now, because what they do is they take pictures of you while you're changing as well, which is not. You're not supposed to have pictures of us changing. Like you're supposed to have pictures of us in whatever they have us in, but not like
But I feel
changing.
like
And
they still do that now.
they
There's
do,
plenty of
yeah.
times where I've worked fashion shows, New York Fashion Week, and there's always older photographers and there's little girls back there or kids, and I'm not saying they intentionally do it, but in general, it is like that. So I've seen it.
Yeah, yeah, it's so perverted. Like the other day, I did a show. I had it like chose to change in the bathroom because I'm like, it's like an open room. There's like camera people, the other models, male and female. Like you don't have any you don't have any privacy.
That's crazy. Um, yeah, that's really crazy. So, what was your
Yeah.
thoughts on Jeffrey Epstein, like his whole story? What's your thoughts on
Uh,
that?
well, I lived in Miami, and I knew like some young girls that would like date rich guys and stuff for money, because I guess that's like a Miami vibe. So I totally believe that. Like I'm pretty sure I know some of those girls personally, because that's the way that Miami kind of operates. It's like, the playground of the rich, and they have money, and they want what they want, and the girls are young. They want money too. They want to, have nice things, because everybody in Miami has nice things. So that happens.
Okay. Yeah. As you
I'm
can
not
see,
for it. Yeah, I'm not for it. I'm like against it, But I mean, when I was younger, I was dating an older man. So I was underage and I was dating like my friend's uncle who was like 38 and I was like 17.
dang.
So I mean,
Oh
it
yeah, my
happened.
best friend, she loves dating older guys. Like even when she was like 25, she'd be dating a 40-year-old, and I would never understand that.
Yeah, it's
But
like
it's
when you're
just some people,
younger.
it's just their thing. Like, and I don't know. Some women just don't like little kids.
No, when you're younger, you want to feel older too. You want to be like rebellious and stuff. So I feel like, you want to grow up. So you end up dating older or doing those kind of things, like the Epstein kind of things. Like, oh, some guys are offering you like $200. You're like, okay, like $200 for 205 times. That's $1,000. At 14, 15, 16, you balling.
Yeah, facts. That's
Yeah, you're like
exactly how they
balling.
think. And like,
Yeah,
what?
yeah. They're going to
I
school
just
with the
made more than
new
my
sneak.
parents' the whole yearly salary.
Yeah, they got the new sneakers, the new backpack, the new everything out. Like, how did you get that? Oh, I work. Like,
So you're in New York, or
mm-hmm.
you go back to New York, and then you ended up going to Miami with your. Well, actually, before you leave Italy, you was dating this guy where he was in love with you and he was ready to like settle down with you and everything, but instead you leave Italy.
Yeah, I did because I was there and nobody knew that I was trans. Like I was there with my girlfriend and she's trans, but she has her full surgery. So she's living in stealth. Like so nobody knew she was trans. So when I came there, she never told anybody I was trans. So I ended up meeting this rich guy. He was a banker. He fell in love with me and we were dating. And then like he wanted me to stay there, but I couldn't stay because like he wanted me to move in with him and his mother and everything. And I'm like, how am I gonna do this? Like, he didn't know I was trans. So I had a boyfriend at the time back in New York that knew everything was going on. So I was like, I just told the guy from Italy, I'm like, hey, I'll be back. I'll be back. I'm gonna like finish my things. And then I never went back. So bad.
Wow. Yeah, so you leave Italy. Nobody knew you was a trans. When you was modeling, did anybody knew you was trans too, or no?
No. Mm-mm. It was like a secret.
Why did you keep it a secret? Were you not comfortable in your skin yet, or
I mean, back then it wasn't popular. It wasn't like, and my agency had told me like, make sure you don't let anybody know. And so that was like, I went under those pretenses that, there was trans modeling didn't exist. Like I didn't even really know any other trans model. I didn't know any other trans model. So it was like a thing you have to just keep it a secret. And it's kind of sad because like you're not keeping it true to yourself, like, at the end of the day.
Yeah, I feel like that's the worst part too.
Yeah, it's not good. Like you always have to like lie and try to like not let anybody find out. And then the worst part is like if you want to get intimate with somebody, what do you do? Like,
Yeah,
you
you're
can't.
like stuck.
Yeah, you can't. And like the guy, I really liked him. He was really nice. He was very sweet guy, but like I couldn't be intimate with him like completely. He wanted to, I wanted to, but I couldn't. So I
why
was
you
like,
didn't just
I
tell
gotta
them?
leave because it would jeopardize my girlfriend. It would bring heat to her, and she didn't want anybody to know that she was trans. So if I would have said I was trans,
Right, right. It would
they
have
would
Oh,
have
red
thought
flag.
she was trans, guilty by association.
yeah, I see what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts
Yeah.
of when So I hear stories where guys are dating a girl, he's about to get married to her, and then that's when she decides to tell him that he's a trans or she's trans now. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that she should have been told him that from the beginning, or do you think like what are your thoughts on that?
So for me, it's difficult because like I've done that before. Like I used to do that. Like I used to date guys and I wouldn't like tell them until I got to know them and then it would get serious. But then like they would feel like I lied to them. But like I feel like I also feel like when you tell someone that you're trans from the beginning, they automatically have this like stereotype about you, and they don't even have the chance to get to know you as a person. So I wouldn't say like
It's like
wait
going to
till
meet
you.
your like spouse's parents, you know?
Right. You don't tell all your, you don't give all your cards on the first time. Like, you need to get to know somebody. And like, I've had this argument with people. People like, oh, you should say it. Like, you should be proud of it. And I'm like, yeah and no, because it doesn't still have like a good word in the streets. Like, people still like, it's very unknown. So people automatically make all these weird assumptions about you. And you don't want people to make those assumptions about you from the get. Like, they don't even give the opportunity. They always have this vision of you. So I wouldn't say like, wait to get married, but I wouldn't tell God. I don't tell like I do now, and like I'm a big name or whatever. But I didn't tell guys for months. I would date them and have them get to know me, and then I would say they were trans. And I will say 9 times out of 10 they didn't like it, but they all came back to like try it afterwards.
Okay, so when you okay, were you intimate with them at first before
Well, like,
or
as far as intimate as I could be, like oral sex or whatever. And sometimes, like, I used to pretend like I had my period and have them do like anal sex, stuff like that. I used to get some tricks from the older girls of how to like hide everything and like have sex without them knowing. And I did that for like a while, but then I'm like, this is no fun. Like, I want to enjoy myself too. So I would be as intimate as I could possibly be, but you can't really do much. You could, but you can't.
yeah, I'm sorry. You have to tell me ahead of time. That's I feel like I should as a man I need to know I have the right to know. Like I don't think it's fair to not tell me what I'm getting into. That's like you telling me like, "Oh, you killed somebody." Like you're undercover killer to me. I feel like you're like an undercover killer, but you don't tell me till later on.
That's what my friend said. She's like, "Oh, it's what if it's like if you were married?" And I'm like, "Well, it's kind of like different, like you know what I'm saying." And honestly, your genitals don't make you who you are, to be honest. So I don't feel like you need to go and be like, "Hey, like my genitals don't match my appearance," like not from the get go, because I don't think that's important. If you're gonna get to that point and get sexual and everything, be like, hey, yes, give the person the decision to move forward. But from the beginning, like you're not going to people that you meet every day and like, hey, I'm uncircumcised. You know what I mean? Or hey, I have 9 inches. Like that's personal things that you should only share with people that you're gonna be intimate with.
Right. Because then if
I
it
I
goes
I
nowhere in a sense,
Yeah,
Then
but
well,
yeah.
before we get intimate though, I feel like you should know. You don't have to tell them in the beginning, but before we get intimate, I feel like I should know. And another is let's get past the whole sex thing. The fact that you lied, first of all, you lying.
It's not lying, it's withholding truth.
lying, I feel like I get it. I get what Rose is saying, but then I feel like that's not really a lie. That's just not telling. You didn't ask, so
Right.
no one
It's not
told.
a
You
lie.
didn't see, so you didn't
Exactly.
inquire. So why do you really have to
Exactly.
like? I don't know. I'm very private. I have like a 90-day rule, so I feel like within those 90 days, I get to know you. You don't need to know my business other than what I feel
Well,
like
Right.
telling you.
that's why I
Right.
So,
feel like you shouldn't be having sex or doing anything anyway. With, like you said, the
well, no,
90-day rule.
exactly. You got 90 days to get to know somebody. After
Yeah, get
that,
to
you
know the
decide you want
person.
to like
Yeah,
jump ship, then you know.
yeah,
I
but
But I don't
agree.
think
I
it's a
Yeah.
don't know.
lie.
I just feel violated if you like we do anything and then you don't tell me. I just feel like you lied to me. It's just I feel like you didn't give me the choice. That's just me personally. That's how I feel.
Yeah, no, you have every right to feel that way. And like to trick someone into with sexual things, like, and I've done it before, it's not a good look. Like, I regret it. Like, I would love to give the person the option to know what's going on because then it makes it better for both parties, you know?
Yeah, you want to be with that person because he understands you. He fully understands you. And he want to be with you. By you
Yeah.
doing all that, I just feel like that person don't know you really because he didn't.
But
He
the thing
wasn't.
is with like
Go ahead.
us
Sorry.
like men with the toxic masculinity, like when you tell guys, for example, and even to this day, when you tell guys that you're trans, like they automatically think that you're gonna sleep with them just because you're trans. So that's the struggle that we have as trans. Like people think we're hypersexual and I have to like literally bend over the minute I meet you because I'm trans. And that's why a lot of trans don't like to tell guys that, because they automatically become fetishized. And that's not what we're
Right.
about. We want to be treated like everybody else. We want to be taken out and the car door open. We want to be taken to dates. We don't want the guys to just come and slide at our house at night because he knows that we're trans. And before they know that you're trans, they don't treat you that way. But as soon as they know you're trans, they're worried about if their friends are gonna know, or am I gay, and like all these questions come in that would have never came into play if you didn't say that. Because attraction is there, obviously, and that's the problem. It's the toxic masculinity that makes us trans people not be so upfront, because we get automatically judged, we get fetishized, and then we're not treated like a person that we are. At the end of the day, we're human. We're just like everybody else. We have emotions. We bleed, we cry, we sleep, we eat, we shit. So to treat us differently just because we have different genders, we're born with different genders and what we represent. I'm not. I don't want. I'm not for that.
Yeah, I don't agree. You guys should be treated differently. Yeah, yeah, I agree with that. I forgot what I was about to say. I just had a brain fart. Um,
I can't with you.
Damn.
It's like, oh shit.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on Donald Trump when he revokes the transgender health protection?
Oh, that's crazy. Like I was so frustrated about that, and it's bad enough like we have to deal with like society and our parents and everything, and then the fact that they tried to deny us healthcare and you can't be in the military. It's just so crazy, because the same people that have taken away all of the rights are the same people that behind the closed doors are seeking us out
So
at
you
the end
think
of the day.
you think Trump is in a closet?
I mean, some of his staff, I'm sure. I don't know about him personally, but I personally know and was dating one of his friends.
Oh,
So they're out there. Yeah.
I
They're out
know,
there. They are all out there.
I
Yeah, they're
know, I
out
know,
there.
I know. You're happy that he lost.
Yes, I am. My friend is happy too, because my friend wasn't like, they're friends, but he didn't believe in like his politics and stuff. So I'm glad, yes, that we have a change in office. Let's see what it brings.
Okay. And
Let's
then
see what it brings.
with this I know that with his little, I guess Obama gave transgender rights and he was trying to revoke everything. Well, he did revoke it. Whereas part of those protection or the health protection was transgenders trying to have the insurance or the health programs pay for their surgery? Like what was the whole thing about? Like
Well, yeah, we do have that now, like here in New York, but I guess it was that. Like they did. But it's also like transition is expensive. Okay. So whatever help that you can get from the government, from your healthcare is needed, and that's why a lot of us resort to sex work and doing what we have to do that way, because transition is not cheap.
give me a roundabout price. How much we talking?
It's like
It's a
an eighty
lifestyle,
thousand
like it's
dollars, and then you got to pay like every month or every year or so, no, for like the shots and the continuous checkups, and it's not like a one shot stop and you're
Yeah,
done.
it's
Like
like,
that
yeah, you have
continues.
to get your breasts done, you have to do whatever, then you have to like
And
get your
don't you have to
hair
go to a
done, your
doctor
nails.
first and they check your psychology or whatever, your
Yeah,
psychiatrist to make sure
yeah,
you're like mentally there? It's a
yeah.
whole
You have to,
process. I've
then
had
you have to
family
do like
members go
hair
through it.
removal and
That is
everything.
crazy.
It's
They
a lot.
clip too, right? They clip.
Clip too. Yeah.
Dang. So how's that process? Did you go through that procedure or
I did. It
Didn't
was
you
really,
only get your the
yeah.
testicles?
Yeah, it was a really scary procedure. I did it like in this office in like White Plains, and like it was after hours, and the guy was like retired, and I was literally awake when he did it. It was a very scary situation. I'll never forget that day for the rest of my life.
Ooh, that sounds painful.
Yeah, I was awake. I was totally awake. I remember feeling
Uh,
like the pulling from like here when they like pulled everything out and like cut, and my legs like
yeah.
jumped, and they had to like give me more medicine and everything. It was crazy. It was really, really crazy. But with that being said, I don't regret it because then like I can take less hormones. I'm like more, passable. My body changed. Everything changed.
Okay, yeah, that's girl, you have me going crazy. Yeah. I don't even want to know how that
You got to
feels.
do what you
Jesus.
got to do.
Ah,
Yeah, the recovery is the bitch. Yes, I can tell you that. It's a bitch.
dang. All right, so and that once they do that, that turns into a vagina, or like give me some insight.
No, you just have like I just removed my testicles at this point, but I'm gonna go for the full surgery eventually. But right now I still have. Yeah, it just like the skin that's there, it just like flat it gets flat and you're fine. But it also helps you like when you have to like do your tucking because you don't have all that bulkiness down there.
Oh
So it looks
Lord,
like really flat.
how long does it take to
Yeah, and then you
recover?
can't tell, right?
Yeah, you can't tell. Recovery is yes. Recovery. Oh my God, yes. Yes. Recovery
Yes.
is like
You need to hit up Lisa when you
Rec-
come down to Miami or Florida. She does hair and makeup.
Lisa, let's do it, girl. I
Yes,
need your
that's what I
contact, girl.
do.
I need your contacts, girl. Recovery's a while because you gotta like you have to do like Epsom salts baths. You have to like go like it's really crazy to be honest. It's like one of the most painful things I did. Then you have like these ghost pains as well. Like I had it for like the first 2 years, like where you would get this feeling like someone like literally kicked you really hard in there, and it was like aching so bad. And there's nothing you can do. You just have to go to like take a bath and soak and pray that it goes away. It's really bad. I mean, but at the end of the day, you got to do what you got to do,
Yeah, that's
you
crazy.
know?
All
Oh
right.
yeah.
So from New York you go to Miami and you start escorting.
Yeah.
What made you start escorting? And I know you moved
Well,
down there with your
actually started,
boyfriend.
well, I started escorting when I was in New York because I was working at the restaurant and all my friends like were transitioning like really quick and getting all these surgeries. So I was like, how are you guys doing this? And I ended up like they ended up telling me how they did it. So they ended up hooking me up with this madam that had like houses here in New York. At first, she didn't want to take me in because I was black, and like she had bad experience with a black girl that robbed her. So she was like really hesitant of like taking me in. And then my friends like begged her for months, and then she finally took me in. Then I was escorting. Then I met this guy that I was dating, and we ended up moving to Miami. And then that's when they contacted me about a porn movie, and I was like, "Well, I mean, fuck it. I'm like already having sex for money, anyways." And I was like, "Well, who am I gonna do it with?" And they offered me to do it with my partner at the time, and I did my first porn movie.
Oh wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was paying bills and rents and everything back then,
Yeah,
huh?
I got my deposit for this apartment that I moved into. It was like $500 apartment. I got $1,500 for the porn. We had first month, last month deposit, like moved right in. It was like my first apartment in Miami, south of Fifth. So it was like really bad neighborhood at that time. But yeah, and then the
Okay.
rest, and then I didn't do porn for a while because like my boyfriend was kind of like jealous. And so then I would just do webcam. And then we broke up. And then I ended up, we broke up. And then I ended up, like, my girlfriend took me to LA to shoot some pictures and stuff. And then I met this porn star guy. And then I came back to New York. And then I was at this party, like a transgender party, like strip party. And I met this guy, porn star, Christian X. And he like fell in love with me, and he's like, "Oh, I want to do a movie with you, blah 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 blah." And like he ended up organizing like the whole thing, and back in LA, and next thing you know, he's like, come, like, I have this scene for you, this blah blah blah. And like next thing you know, I did my first DVD, because the other one was like a website. And then I did that DVD. I remember I was super nervous because it was like first time working with someone besides my boyfriend. And I remember I was like high on drugs. And yeah, I did that scene, and like people say today that's like their favorite scene.
That's dope.
Lisa's like,
Yeah, it's a mess. It was such a mess.
all right, so yeah, I never watched trans porn before and anything like that. So like, this might sound ignorant, but how is it done?
What do you mean? Like, how is it done?
Like, so, because I know you said that you got everything clipped and everything's like, is it like anal sex or like
Anal sex, yeah, anal sex, and or sometimes like you give it to you receive or you get, yeah.
okay, dang, you know what they say when you like, you know how a blind person loses his sight but then he gets like better in other areas?
Yeah.
So is
So
that true, like for you?
Oh, I think so. Yeah, I definitely like it helped me like for like orgasms and stuff. I can like multiple orgasm and like stay hard longer and like yeah, I think it was kind of good for me actually.
Okay, and then your first porn video that you record, you said you was on drugs, correct? Or
Unfortunately, I was on drugs.
because you was like embarrassed, you didn't know how it
I
was gonna
was
turn out?
very nervous. Yeah, I didn't know the guy. I was really nervous. Yeah. It's very uncomfortable to have sex with like a camera like so close to your genitals. And back then, I didn't really know how to like clean out and stuff. So it was like a lot. It was a lot.
Well, yeah, because then they're like all up in there, and then it's also like I feel like it makes it just awkward in general.
Yeah, it's so awkward. And then there's like three people in the room and you're
It's
like,
like, do I make a
okay.
noise? Do I not make a noise? Do I say something? Do I not
Right.
say something?
Yeah, it's so like you're so and I would really wanted to hook up with this guy, but I didn't know like it was gonna be like the cameraman and this and that and this person and that person. So it was a lot.
Like then,
Okay,
yeah.
and then
Really a lot.
I did want to ask you this too, like how often do they require porn stars to get tested?
Well, now we're tested every fucking 2 weeks. It's really like strict. So my poor veins, they're like dying because it's every 2 weeks now. Yeah, it used to be once a month, and now it's every 2 weeks.
All right, and then I did want to ask you this too, because I heard a lot of porn stars talk about there's a lot of racism in the industry, but
Yeah.
when you hear racism, you're usually thinking about everything that's outside, like police brutality. You don't really think about like in the porn star industry. So when I heard that, I was like, dang, I never actually thought about it like that.
Yeah, it's really bad, honestly. Like, the non-white, non-black counterparts get paid more money to like sleep with black people. We don't get like the equal pay rates. The treatment's not the same. Like, it's really bad. It's really bad.
Okay,
Oh, I
and
believe it. I feel like that's women in general.
It's really bad. It's like, and then like, they don't like promote you as much as they would promote your non-black counterparts. Like, they get the splash page and the Instagram, and you're like a couple companies I had to like go to their Instagram and be like, hey, like I've shot for you guys at least 5 times. Like, why don't you have a picture of me on your Instagram? Like, I'm confused.
Oh, that I've heard of that happening.
So bad. It's so bad. I'm like, what?
It's like, what was the point of me like doing that in the first place?
Yeah, like I don't get it. And then if obviously I'm good enough for you to shoot me, then I'm good enough for you to shoot me. So why don't you put me on your website? I'm confused. It's so bad.
yeah, they also don't. They haven't nominated you for anything either. Well, now they did. I think I sent on your page. You posted anything.
Now I'm getting, yeah. Now I'm nominated. I'm winning. I'm like everything now because I made a big scene about it. I made a big scene about it. So now I won XBiz. I'm nominated for Pornhub.
All right. So let's get into platforms like OnlyFans. Do you think platforms like OnlyFans are messing with Pornhub's money right now? Like, do you think people are like, why should I go on Pornhub or porn industry when I can just do my own OnlyFans?
I mean, honestly, like I stopped like doing porn productions too because they fucking pay you so little and then they exploit the fuck out of you and then you don't like you don't need to do it anymore. Now you have OnlyFans, you can make so much money on your own.
Well, and you don't even have to post anything. You can literally post your toes and people are going to pay for that.
Yeah, like, and I have a company like running my OnlyFans now, so they like help me out and like talk to the guys, and it's been really good. So they just offered me to do this one project, and and they were like, "Oh, we want to pay you this rate," and I'm like, "Excuse me, like you guys are a huge company, like you need to pay more. I make so much from my OnlyFans, like I don't need to work for these companies anymore."
Yeah. So I did want to bring up this before we wrap it up.
Okay.
What was your thoughts when you heard Lil Boosie comment on Dwayne Wade's son or daughter transitioning?
Oh, I don't like that. Like people need to mind their own business. I'm sorry. I don't it's so like and that's a problem with us black people. We always want to be where we don't need to be. Like if the kid is happy, they're happy parents, like it's fine. Like I don't get it. It's fine. Like let the child be who they want to be. Like it's not I don't understand why people have so much opinion.
I guess he felt like Dwayne Wade's son, from my understanding, he feels like the kid is too young. He don't know what he wants or shouldn't be making decisions until he or she is 18 years old, like that,
No.
because that's a life
Mm-mm.
changer.
That's like me, like growing up and me denying who I was. And that's like the worst when you deny or make somebody deny who they are. That's the most miserable life there is. This is why a lot of people are in the problems right now because they're living a lie. They're not keeping true with themselves.
Well, I don't really know enough on it.
I
Oh,
mean,
you
if
don't?
you had a kid, what would you like if you had a kid and your kid expressed to you that they feel a certain way, wouldn't you like acknowledge your child?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Just because, well, I mean, I have so many in my family that I don't really, like I said, it's not really looked for, it's not frowned upon. It's not really like a negative subject in our household. So, I was just kind of raised on the sense where we accept everybody, you know. I I would acknowledge my child, I would love my child, and I'd appreciate my child regardless of. And I've told my kids, in general, I'm like, you ever decide, because my daughter, her best friend is, you know, switch. So if my daughter came home one day asking or one of her friends had asked, if why couldn't she be a boy if he gets to be a girl type thing, and I think
Oh
it's one of those things
no.
where sometimes they don't really understand. So I just think that there has to be maybe like a little more knowledge for other people out there to understand. But you know I personally would, I don't know, I don't really see black, white, girl, like I'm just kind of everything. So I don't know. I mean, maybe if I was raised without it, then I would feel that way, but I wasn't. So
So
So you have an insight.
what advice would y'all give parents? Because oftentimes kids don't know about their gender identity and it's pushed on them by their parents, and
Yes.
kids like Barbies or they like cars. So like, what advice would you give parents?
Like I said, like if your child feels a kind of way, like give them the space to feel that way and embrace it and let them be supportive. That's the best that you can do because when you like try to force your child to be something that's not. Even my mom told me the other day, she never said this to me before, but she's told me like recent, like maybe a couple months ago, she's like, I wish I would have gave you that easy bake oven when you wanted it, instead of not forcing you to not buying it for you. Like, you just have to, if the child wants that, you have to support the child and give them what they want, and just be with them on the path, because it's a hard path to go on. Trust me, I'm here to tell you. Especially when you're confused and trying to find out who you are and you're not getting the acceptance that you need.
Okay, and what do you think we can do better in society to be more aware of trans?
I think we need to be more accepting, more understanding, show more compassion, put trans people on the highest pedestal as possible, because we have enough of problems as it is through our transition, through high school, through bullying, etc. So we need to put trans people in the highest pedestal possible and protect them. Like, if they're like a rare, butterfly or dinosaur, or something. That's what we are. And it's the life is hard enough as it is with us and everything that we have to deal with. So I think you have to protect trans, get yourself knowledgeable, like educate yourself on issues about trans, about misgendering and how to address trans people.
No, and I think they need to get people in schools too for kids, and now I feel like it's more socially accepted. So it's kind of one of those things where people need to be able to ask questions, so that way somebody's there to answer the questions and the concerns that anybody might have.
Yes. I agree. I've been back to schools, and like I went to my high school and spoke to them at my transition and everything. And we need that more education.
Yeah, a lot of people, believe it or not, a lot of people don't know, so they're not educated, and I think we do need to be more educated on the topic.
The more yeah, totally.
So let's wrap it up. I guess with the last question I wanted to ask was, I seen that you messed with a lot of celebrities and athletes in the past. So and I know they made you sign waivers and consensual like forms and anything like that. So why do you think? Because I don't know if you remember the situation where when Young Jock went viral for going. I think was it Young Jock
for being messing with
trans, yeah. And then you got Dwight Howard and a lot of people, and then when it comes out, they deny it. In your opinion, do you think they are into that, or
they're into trans people?
Yeah.
Of course they are. They just get caught, and then society shames you, which is really sad. Like, society should just let you be who you want to be. At the end of the day, like, I don't understand why everybody has an issue where somebody else puts their genitals. Like, why do you care if this person wants to stick their dick in a trans ass? Like, why? What's the importance of that? And what are people getting out of that? Like, calling people out and criticizing them and shaming them. Like, what do you honestly get out of that?
Okay, you preaching over there. See, you might need
yes.
You might need a little.
That's the way I feel. Yeah, that's the way I feel. Like, what do you get out of that? Like, who cares if you're a person or is a famous rapper, actor is sleeping with a trans? Like, why do you care? And just as long as it's consensual, they're not underage. What is the problem? Everybody else is talking out everybody, but nobody's talking about that.
Yeah, I don't care.
Rappers are out here shitting and pissing on girls and doing all that. Ain't nobody talking about that.
I might need to go grab me some tea over this girl. She's spilling a little something over here.
Okay. I can't spill too much tea, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't. To be honest with you, I don't care what you are. I don't care what you do. I just want you to be real with yourself and open. I feel like just be honest with yourself, and I have no problem with anybody. Do what you want to do, and I'm cool with it. As long as you're real with it, you're honest. That's all I ask for, and I'm cool with it. That's it.
Have you ever been with a trans? Would you be with a trans person?
No, I have a girlfriend, and I have a son. Which
I understand. You guys can have a threesome. What does that have to do with anything?
I'm just not into it, and I know that doesn't matter because there's a whole bunch of athletes and guys that you probably been with that have wives and kids and everything like that. So I know that for that don't mean nothing because you hear like people that be like they come out there gay, like what's his name, Andrew Gillum. He's bisexual
Yeah,
now, and he has a wife and the kids, and people are like, but he had a wife and kids, but then it's like, and what? Like that doesn't matter nowadays. Like
it doesn't matter. No, and the fact that a lot of people get married. So I have a person that I'm talking to now, married with children, and he tells me like he wishes he was trans,
oh, okay.
but he didn't have the nerve to do it, and now he's like married with children. So now he's like, oh, it's too late. I'm like, it's never too late. If you want, if that's what you want, do it. And like he's like, I admire you for being able to do that. Like I wish I can do it, but I feel like it's too late now.
Not even that. It sounds expensive too.
I know. What he's
Yeah,
famous. He got the money, honey. You can do
yeah,
it.
yeah. Lisa, would you do a threesome with a trans Lisa? With you and your husband?
No, because I'm selfish. So I wouldn't do it with anybody.
Yeah.
I don't like sharing at all. So what's mine is mine. It's not to
All
be
to
shared.
yourself.
So the idea is phenomenal. You know what I mean? But it's just not going to happen. It's one of those things where you can fantasize, but it's not going to actually be practiced because I'm too selfish for that. She'd get too close, and I'd end up fighting the bitch. It just wouldn't end up getting any further.
Yeah.
Like
You're
it
like,
just
no,
wouldn't.
that's
Yeah,
not
but
gonna
Natassia
No,
is
I'd be
saying
like,
that
you're too close.
she's saying that you haven't met her yet. That's why.
Nah.
Your husband's gonna be the one jealous, not you, because she can be taking care of you.
Come on, baby.
Oh dang. But yeah, that was my last question. So thanks for coming on. Let's wrap this up. I know you say you gotta go somewhere after this too, so we're not
I'm
gonna
doing
hold
a
you up.
little live show. Yes, thank you so much for having me. But I would love to come back any other time to educate your guests and your people. And if you have any questions, look me up. I'm an open book.
Where
I'm
everybody can
here.
find you. Let everybody know where they can find you because your Instagram get
Um,
deleted like every
my
2 weeks
yeah,
nowadays.
go to my Twitter. It's Natassia Dreams X, and that's pretty much the most stable thing right now because Instagram, I'm on like my fourth account, Natassia Dreams New. Let's see how long that lasts. But like my Twitter is Natassia Dreams X. You can go to my OnlyFans. It's natassiasdreamland.com. But pretty much Twitter is the constant to reach me now since I'm getting flagged on Instagram all the time.
All
Perfect.
right,
Thank
I'm
you.
gonna hit that follow.
Yeah.
Yes, I'll follow back.
Make sure you guys link up, man. Because makeup,
Yes,
hair.
Yeah, of course. Whenever you're here, I got you, boo.
I'm there all the time. I'm there all the time. So let's send me your info and definitely I will look you up so you can hook a girl up, honey, when she's in Miami.
Yes.
Yes, thank you guys so much for having me. Thank you for being
I feel
patient
like
while
I
I was
need to
doing
get
my
that
hair.
outfit too.
This is a little Asian provocateur, number.
Oh, I see. I need those
Yeah, for my
babs
live
too.
show. Well, I've been starving myself because I'm shooting the cover of a magazine day after tomorrow, naked.
No, stop.
Yeah, yeah. So
Oh,
I'm like,
we need to see
I'm
that.
fasting.
Don't you fast like around this time till like next day 11, like 11, 12 o'clock, something like
Yeah,
that?
I'll eat like something after this, after I finish my show, and then I won't eat again until like 2 p.m. tomorrow.
All right. Thanks for coming on. Make sure to come
Thank
back
you for
again.
having me. Yes, whenever you guys
Thank you
need, like,
so much.
set me up, look me up. Thank you guys. Have a nice night.
All right.
You
Bye.
too.
For culture.